Hello, Conrad, and hello, Lucy. Hello, Caleb. It's Papa and Spider-Man, and we know that you are excited to hear about the new X-Men adventure that introduces Ka-Zar, Lord of the Jungle. All right, here he is. And look in the corner, it's Zabu, the saber-tooth. All right, Marvel says Ka-Zar is unquestionably the most spectacular new character of the year. Well, let's see what makes him so spectacular. Here is the front picture. It says featuring a fascinating journey to the world that time forgot. You know, this story not only has the X-Men, not only has Ka-Zar and Zabu the Sabretooth, it also has a bunch of dinosaurs. What could be better than that, right? Okay, let's get on with it. We're going to start in the Danger Room. You are privileged to look inside the world's strangest training chamber. Yeah, the X-Men's Danger Room, where Professor Xavier's marvelous mutants brush up on some highly specialized postgraduate studies. All right, so here comes Scott Summers, who's the leader of the X-Men. He says he's talking to Marvel Girl, and look what she's doing with her mental powers of telekinesis. She has taken apart a rifle, and he says, "You've taken that rifle apart perfectly with your telekinetic power, Jean." And Iceman says, "Holy cow, you'll never get those pieces together again in the right order." Marvel Girl says, "Please, nobody speak. I can't be distracted." And the Beast has confidence. He says, "Nonsense, Bobby. She'll accomplish it with ease." Well, sure enough, Scott says, "Excellent, Jean. You've refined your power to an almost unbelievable degree." Marvel Girl says, "Thank you, Scott." Iceman says, "Terrific, Jeannie. If you had ice power too, you'd be perfect." Well, you're wondering about these thought balloons. We've got a romance going on. Scott thinks that her power is almost as unbelievable as your beauty, which leaves me breathless. And Marvel Girl thinks, "Oh, Scott, but to you, I'll never be anything more than Marvel Girl." Oh, heavy sigh, heavy sigh. All right. Um, Scott says, "I've got to change the subject. When she stands this close to me, I forget everything but my desire to reach out to embrace her." Enough of that. Okay. Scott says, "By the way, where's Warren? I don't see him here." Jean says, "That's right. He hasn't been here." All right. And Scott says, "We better check. He's never missed a training session before." And so Iceman says, "I'll go with you, Scott." And he's sliding on his ice slide. And B says, "The beast shall also accompany you." And he's walking on his hands. And sure enough, they go to his room, and there he is. And the TV says, "This special bulletin is being transmitted via Telstar satellite." And Warren says, "I'll be with you in a sec, Scott. I just want to see this." Scott gets up all high and mighty and says, "Mr. Worthington, may I remind you that no one is excused from postgraduate work without express permission of Professor X himself." Warren says, "I know, Scott, but this may concern all of us. Watch." And Iceman says, "Say, what's going on there anyway?" Well, here it is on TV. We see a videotape broadcast of something that happened yesterday at Antarctica. Where is Antarctica? Well, it's the South Pole, and there's lots of snow and ice. It's very cold there. You need to ask your dad to show you a globe or a map so you can see where Antarctica is. All right. The newsman says one of the exploration party had been missing and considered lost until he was carried to the camp by a fantastic figure clad only in a loincloth. Although our transmission is somewhat hazy, it appears that a saber-toothed tiger accompanied the primitive stranger, causing panic among the startled members of the expedition. Unprepared for such a sight, the armed explorers opened fire while the cameraman continued to shoot these incredible scenes. Well, I should think so. Look at the saber-toothed tiger rushing through the armed men. Only a miracle prevented any fatalities, and the savage man and beast soon faded into the night after running amok through the camp. Look at the saber-tooth attacking that tank. All right, back at the X-Men's headquarters, Scott says, it's impossible. Saber-toothed tigers have been extinct for ages, and yet we saw it. Warren says, how about that? And Gene says, that wild man, like a latter-day Tarzan. Do y'all know who Tarzan is? Y'all need to find out about him. He's also known as the Jungle Man. And Gene continues, he's in that frigid climate without protective clothes. Could he be? And Hank says he must be a mutant. Minutes later, the excited teenagers rush into the luxurious study of the man called Professor X. Scott says, Professor, I've just seen the most amazing thing on TV. The professor says, I know, Scott. Washington has already contacted me about the Antarctic wild man, as they call him. Hank says, he's obviously a mutant, sir, and he appears to be a dangerous one. Look at Hank. He's balancing on that chair with just his toes. And the Iceman says, boy, the South Pole is one place where I'll feel right at home. Well, isn't that the truth? Professor X says, there's no need to concern yourselves, my X-Men. He is not a mutant. But, sir, how can you be certain? If he were a true mutant, my sensitive cerebro machine would have recorded his presence. Also, I would have mentally sensed it. And yet... And then Scott asks, but sir, how can you be so certain? And another X-Man says, oh, it's been weeks since we've had a chance to use all our training. Professor says, it is true that you've been inactive for weeks, and being young and adventurous, such a mission might be good for your morale. So, you may investigate the Antarctic wild man. Warren says, thank you, Professor. Iceman says, hot dog. And the bee says, a mission at last. All right. And so they're just as excited as we are, okay? So they run down the hall to get ready, and Warren has already taken off his harness and spread his wings. He says, ah, what a relief to get my wings unstrapped and become the angel once more. The beast says, an untamed, marauding savage. At last the beast will have a foe worthy of his mettle. And Iceman is sliding along, and, well, he picks up Jean along the way. She says, Iceman, stop that, you juvenile Jerry Lewis. Meanwhile, the X-Men's deputy leader remains for a last-minute briefing with the professor. And so the professor says, you will notice, Scott, that my master cerebro analyzer, although focused upon the Antarctic regions, registers the presence of no mutants in that area. However, there may be danger there, a different danger than any you have faced before. Scott says, I assume by your words, sir, that you do not intend to come on this mission with us? No, Cyclops, says the professor. You have all completed your basic training and have proven yourselves on other missions. My work is here. Good luck. Scott shakes his hand and says, thank you, sir. We shall not disappoint you. Days later, having landed at a prearranged base within the mysterious polar region, the X-Men begin the next lap of their journey into the unknown. And the Angel is in the tank. And he says, looks like my wings won't do me much good here, gang. It's too cold to take off this parka, so I can't use them. And Scott says, don't count on it, Angel. We still don't know what we're heading into. Remember that wild man wore only a loincloth. Okay, so what mysterious place does the wild man live in? All right, Gene says, miles and miles of nothing but nothing. How can land such as this hold a mystery? Scott says, that's what we're here to find out, Gene. Uh-oh, here's our first problem. That's the area where the wild man ran off to on videotape film, but take a look at that crevice. Hank says, it's a sheer drop of hundreds of feet. Nothing could fall down there and live. Marvel Girl says, it looks as though our mission is ended before it began. If he fell down here, he's finished. Scott says, yet we can't be certain. I'll see how far down my power blast ray can penetrate. And so he takes off his sunglasses and his power ray goes down deep, deep. But then suddenly, look, your energy, the energy from your ray caused a geyser of snow to shoot up behind us. You don't mess with Mother Nature. But look, there's a hidden tunnel under here. Then he wasn't killed in the fall. This must be where he came from and where he vanished to. I wonder if that saber tooth is still with him. Well, I expect so. Then, after what seems like hours of descending, they say it's like coming to a new, undiscovered world. And it's warm, says Warren. We can shed our coats. I can fly. Well, good. We wouldn't want to go the whole story without seeing the angel fly. Scouting ahead, the awe-stricken angel soon sees. It's like a vast animal burial ground. But the bones, they're the wrong size. They're the skeletons of monsters. Look at this, a graveyard with giant bones. Looks like a triceratops and dinosaur bones. Then, emerging from the gigantic cave, Angel hears a blood-curdling screech above and turns around to find, what are they? Pterodactyls, birds from the dinosaur era. How can it be? Man, I don't know. But the winged mutant has no time for idle speculation as the flying killers attack. Clack! He bites, but the angel is too fast for him. He says, wow, that was too close for comfort. Cyclops says, hang on, Angel, my power beam will scatter them. Much obliged, Cyclops. These overgrown parakeets mean business. And here they come, the rest of the X-Men enter out of the tunnel. Marvel Girl says, that's the last of them, Scott. You drove them off. Scott says, but where are we? What kind of place is this? Beast says, apparently we have stumbled upon a warm tropical land buried far beneath the frozen wastes of Antarctica. How strange, the land that time forgot. The flora and fauna are all prehistoric, vegetation and animal life which ceased to exist on the surface of the earth ages ago. Cyclops says, we've seen this sort of thing many times on the Late Show, but to actually encounter such a world in real life, it staggers the senses. Yes, it looks like a monster movie. Angel says, I'll do some more scouting now that those flying nightmares are gone. Look at all these strange animals and plants. Beast says, look, those horses aren't much larger than puppies. They're the ancestors of our present-day stallions. What a fabulous archaeological find. Marvel Girl says, if I remember my ancient history, the most dangerous-looking prehistoric beasts were vegetarians. I hope. Iceman says, imagine walking one of these on a leash in a park. But suddenly, the youthful mutants, amused by interest, turns to unbelieving shock as they see. Scott, all of you, look, charging towards us from the underbrush. What's that? Cyclops says, X-Men. On the double, prepare for battle. Primitive warriors mounted on giant carnivorous birds. That means meat-eating birds. I'm not sure how he knows they eat meat, but nonetheless, they're about to attack us with rocks. So look at this. Two primitive characters. They've got bolos swinging in the air. They're riding on these strange birds. No, they're not rocks. They're crude missiles filled with volcanic gases. Hold your breaths. Oh, the gas is going to knock them out. Cyclops' frantic warning comes too late for all save the beast. The beast jumps at the bird and knocks the a warrior off his saddle. He says, "Anyone tell you that you have a dormant, deep-rooted hostility complex?" I doubt that anyone has ever told him that. "Ow," says Hank. "Some people can't take the slightest criticism. But how can they shoot such a multitude of arrows simultaneously? But look, no matter how many arrows they send at him, he's able to dodge them. And look, now I see it. They're not as brainless as they seem. That's a mighty clever multiple arrow launcher they're employing. But I'm not in a position to appreciate it right now. But isn't that an interesting looking contraption?" Suddenly, an ear-splitting battle cry rents the air, causing the savage marauders to flee in terror. Hee-yaw! And here comes the Antarctic wild man and his saber-toothed tiger. But look! Oh no! These savages snatch up Marvel Girl. And they rush off with her. And the beast says they're running off, but they've taken Marvel Girl. Oh no! That saber-tooth is stalking them. No, he can't go on. The swamp stopped him. He's turning back. The wild man called him. Ka-Zar speaks. "Swamp means death, Zabu. There is better way, we find." And they realize the tiger is tame. He's conversing with it. And he identifies himself. "I am Ka-Zar." B says, "Well, whatever you call yourself, nature boy, I'm indebted to you and your little pet for driving those aborigines away." Cyclops wakes up. He says, "That volcanic gas put us to sleep. We couldn't fight it." He goes on, "Well, it seems we located our quarry while we slept. Good work, beast." Then he says again, "I am Ka-Zar." Beast says, "It would be more accurate to say he located us." Conversationally, he's somewhat like a broken record. But the beast says, "Anyway, he probably saved our lives while you were all in repose." And then Beast does something very foolish. He reaches out and touches Ka-Zar. He says, "Say, that's a remarkable pair of biceps you've got, Ka-Zar." Ka-Zar says, "No touch. None touch the Lord of the Jungle, Zabu." And Cyclops says, "Beast, look out for the tiger." And the tiger pounces, but moving like a jungle cat himself, the agile beast narrowly escapes the saber-tooth's deadly leap. Beast says, "You fool, I meant you no harm." Ka-Zar says, "Many moons ago, other men on surface attacked Ka-Zar. Ka-Zar fled down here, will never flee again." Iceman says, "I'll put that nutty pussycat in deep freeze until we settle with the fella in the fur bikini." And so Iceman throws an ice cube around Zabu, but Ka-Zar calls out, "Zabu!" And Ka-Zar says, "He who would attack Zabu must first destroy his blood brother, Ka-Zar." And so Ka-Zar takes a stone, cracks open the icy block, and frees the saber-tooth, and with the sound splang. And now they turn their attention toward the X-Men. Ka-Zar raises up the boulder to attack, but Cyclops uses his energy beam to knock it out of the way. He says, "Look, we mean you no harm. Right now, our biggest problem is to rescue our female partner from those savages who seized her. Now stay back. Don't force us to get rough with you. We've got to find Marvel Girl." But Ka-Zar says, "You attack Ka-Zar. Now you die." And then, boy, he's clever. He's holding the Cyclops visor. Cyclops says, "He's holding my visor. I can't use my power blast. He doesn't understand. He thinks we're enemies." Ka-Zar says, "Ka-Zar fears nothing. Ka-Zar, Lord of the Jungle." The beast grabs him, but he says, "It's like trying to restrain a tornado." Meanwhile, Iceman is tossing some ice cubes at the saber-tooth. But just then, another thundering war cry is heard. Aye! And here comes another savage. He says, "Ka-Zar is smooth-skinned weakling. I crush Ka-Zar." Look, he's got a big club in his hand. Ka-Zar recognizes him. Magor, the killer, last of the man-ape tribe. Ka-Zar fears nothing. Ka-Zar fears no one. And so Ka-Zar leaps and he grabs Magor's hand, the one holding the club, and with his feet he leaps upon Magor. Magor swings his club, but Ka-Zar leaps out of the way. None can touch Lord of Jungle. Look at that. He's as good as he says he is. But why are we watching? Why don't we search for Gene? We can't without his help. We've got to wait, enlist him as an ally. So Ka-Zar grabs the club out of Magor's hand and he throws it at him and chases him away. Cyclops says he knows this forsaken jungle. We don't. Look how quickly he defeated that caveman. He's a one-man army. Ka-Zar says, "Run, man-ape, run from the might of Ka-Zar." So, he's got a powerful set of lungs, too. Ka-Zar says, "Stronger than Mastodon, stronger than Giant Boar, mighty is Ka-Zar, Lord of the Jungle." And just as if to agree with him, Zabu says, "Roar." So, wow, what do you think of Ka-Zar and Zabu? Man, they're two very interesting characters to join us in the X-Men of Adventure. Well, that's all we have time for now. When we come back, we'll see if the X-Men can enlist Ka-Zar's help. Can they find Marvel Girl? And what else will they learn about the land that time forgot? Are you enjoying this story? Well, I sure am. I look forward to finishing it later on. All right. Love y'all very much. We'll talk to you later.